Every small town has its church, its community hall, its gathering place. But in the town of Maple Creek, a new group arrived with promises of healing, peace, and belonging. They called themselves the Sacred Circle. At first, no one questioned them. They organized charity drives, gave food to the poor, and welcomed anyone into their services. The music was uplifting. The leaders smiled constantly. But behind the smiles, something darker was growing. Former members began whispering stories of isolation, of being cut off from family, of being forced to give up their possessions, their savings, even their identities. And then, there were the disappearances. 2 young women who joined the circle were never seen again. Their families filed missing person reports, but nothing came of it. Police dismissed them as runaways. I began to investigate. The leader of the circle, a man named Daniel Cross, was charismatic. His speeches spoke of freedom, but his eyes told another story, cold, calculating. When I interviewed ex-members, their testimonies aligned. They spoke of rituals held at night, of punishments for those who disobeyed, of a basement where only the leader could enter, and always the same phrase repeated in their stories: the circle must remain unbroken. The more I dug, the more resistance I faced. People in town warned me to stop asking questions. Anonymous messages arrived, leave it alone. But then I found a former member brave enough to share everything. He described how the missing girls had tried to leave, how they were taken underground, how no one who entered that room was ever seen again. When I asked for proof, he handed me an old photograph. It showed the group gathered in the woods, holding candles. In the background, a shallow grave, half covered. The police could no longer ignore it. Excavations began. What they found confirmed the worst fears: bones, clothing, evidence of lives cut short in silence. Daniel Cross was arrested, but even in court, he smiled, saying only, "The circle is eternal." Today, Maple Creek tries to move on. The building where the circle once gathered stands abandoned, but locals say at night they still hear singing from inside. This is the danger of groups that promise peace but demand blind devotion. Because sometimes, the most frightening monsters are not strangers in the dark. They are the ones who smile, offer you comfort, and invite you into their circle. Highways in America are filled with forgotten motels, places where travelers once stopped to rest, now left in decay. One of those motels sits outside a dusty Nevada town. Locals call it the Red Pines Inn. From the outside, it looks abandoned. Broken signs, boarded windows, a silence that feels heavy. But the stories about it are anything but silent. For decades, people whispered about strange happenings in Room 6. Guests complained of voices calling their names, footsteps in the hall at night when no one was there, objects moving on their own. And then the disappearances began. Records show at least 3 travelers checked in to Room 6 and never checked out. Their cars were found outside, their belongings untouched, but the guests themselves were gone. I decided to spend a night inside. The air in the room felt wrong, thick, heavy, as if someone was watching. The wallpaper peeled, and the mirror was cracked straight through the middle, like a scar. Locals told me a story. Years ago, a man was murdered in that very room. Some say he was stabbed during a robbery. Others whisper it was a ritual killing. Whatever the truth, his body was found in the bathroom, and the stains were never fully cleaned. As night fell, I set up cameras. Hours passed in silence, and then, just after 3 a.m., the door creaked open. No one was there, but my recorder picked up a whisper, a single word: leave. When I reviewed the footage the next morning, the shadows in the corner didn't match the furniture. They moved. The Red Pines Inn remains abandoned today, but locals refuse to go near it. Some claim the man who died in room 6 never left, and that those who stayed too long were taken by him. Maybe it's superstition. Maybe it's something darker. What I know is this: when you drive down a lonely highway and see a flickering sign for an old motel, think twice before you stop. Because some rooms are never truly empty. Every city has a place people try to forget. In this town, that place is Hillside Asylum. Built in 1921, it was meant to be a state-of-the-art psychiatric hospital, a safe haven for those struggling with mental illness. But behind the tall iron gates, the truth was far from safe. Reports from former staff describe overcrowded halls, underpaid nurses, and desperate patients. But there are darker whispers, too, of experiments carried out in the basement. Procedures that were never recorded. Treatments that cross the line from medicine into cruelty. Over the years, dozens of patients vanished without explanation. Their families were told they had moved or been released, but their names were never found on transfer papers. They had simply disappeared. By the late 1970s, the hospital was shut down. Officially, it was due to funding cuts. Unofficially, many believe it was because too many secrets were buried within its walls. Today, the building stands abandoned, its windows shattered, its halls silent, or almost silent. Local teenagers dare each other to break in at night. Some return pale and shaken, swearing they heard screams echoing down the corridors. Others say they saw figures moving in the dark, figures in hospital gowns, wandering with empty eyes. I spoke to a former orderly who worked there in the final years. He told me one story he can never forget. A patient who screamed every night that they were coming. One night, the screams stopped. The bed was empty, the room locked from the inside. When he told the doctors, they ordered him to forget what he saw. And maybe that's the darkest part of Hillside Asylum. Not just the pain, the fear, or the experiments, but the silence that followed. The building still stands, rotting at the edge of town. Locals say if you drive by at night, you might see a light flicker in the windows, though there's no power, or hear a scream carried on T. Hillside Asylum may be abandoned, but some doors never close. In the world of modern science, promises are everywhere. Cures for diseases, longer lives, a brighter future. But sometimes, behind the polished smiles and billion-dollar campaigns, lies a truth far darker than anyone dares to admit. Helix Pharmaceuticals was once called the company of the future. Their breakthrough drug, Eternis, was advertised as a life-extending treatment. Early trials showed astonishing results. Patients reported higher energy, improved memory, even a reversal of age-related decline. The media celebrated as the dawn of a new era. Investors poured billions into Helix, and ordinary people lined up, desperate to be part of the trial. But not everyone came back. Official records claimed only minor complications. Yet families of test subjects told a different story. Sudden illnesses, violent changes in behavior, and then disappearances. I began to dig deeper. At first, Helix refused to comment. Their press releases were polished, reassuring. But inside documents, leaked by a whistleblower, revealed something disturbing. Data showing high rates of organ failure, neurological breakdowns, even death. Entire sections of reports had been deleted before being submitted to regulators. And the missing volunteers? They were quietly listed as withdrawn. One former scientist, speaking under anonymity, told me, "We weren't curing aging, we were accelerating it." Some patients aged decades in a matter of weeks. When I asked what happened to them, he looked at me with haunted eyes. The company made them disappear. No bodies, no graves, just gone. Confronted with evidence, Helix denied everything. But the more I uncovered, the clearer the pattern became. Profit over safety, image over truth. And then, late one night, I received an unmarked envelope. Inside was a single flash drive. On it, a video recording from inside a Helix laboratory. In the frame, a test subject, skin sagging, hair white, body trembling. He looked straight into the camera, whispered a single word, "Help," and then collapsed. The file ended there. Today, Helix still operates, its commercials still shining with promises of hope. But if you look closely, you'll see the cracks. Lawsuits quietly settled, families silenced, questions never answered. Eternus was supposed to make life longer. Instead, it made death come faster. And maybe that's the real danger of playing with time. You never know when it runs out.